Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Hi, everyone. Hope this finds you in good health, secure. Bodhisattva Nagarjuna, in his treatise on the great perfection of wisdom, says, the Lotus Sutra is like a great physician who can change poison into medicine. In Dokuyaku, right? This quotation occurs in a passage in the great perfection of wisdom that explains the virtues inherent in the character Myo of the Lotus Sutra, of Myoho Renge Kyo, right? The great teacher Miao Lo remarks, quote, because it can cure what is thought to be incurable, it is called Myo, or wonderful, end quote. Let's spend a moment on that and consider what that really means. When you read it, just as I have, you would think, well, this is a definition of the character Myo of Myoho Renge Kyo. Plain and simple. Boom. This is what Myo means. But consider further the words here, even though, yes, it's a translation. There's a message in these words that's trying to be conveyed. And I think from Nagarjuna's ancient rhetoric of poison into medicine, remember Buddhism is about the mind, right? So everything, you could say, is about the way we think, construct thoughts. Not what we think, but how we think. And then Miao Lo's elucidation, centuries later, maybe is a little bit more familiar, especially layered on top of what Nagarjuna said, to our modern way of thinking, that because it can cure what seems to be incurable, this is Myo. What is incurable? What do we think is incurable? Remember, it's about the mind. This is very important. That's why I'm taking a moment to dissect it a little bit. We tend to read stuff in Buddhism and just take it at face value. And this is a grave error of our pattern of studying, because that's our samsaric mind identifying. I know what that is. It's like the person who's listening to the radio in the car, if anyone does that anymore. And every time they recognize a song, it's like a game, you know. How many notes does it take? Oh, I know that song. And then changes the station. It's like you don't stop to experience the entirety of the song and really get involved and invest your attention in the meaning that the artist is proposing in the music and the lyrics, so on. It's all you can do to identify, name a title, I know that, and then move on to the next one. Like, how is that fulfilling? How are you getting... Why even bother with music then? If all you're doing is identifying it, I know that, move on, I know that, I move on. I mean, this society is working this way more and more, isn't it? Not just with music, with everything. And it happens in our study of Buddhism. We just zing by these words and we think we know Buddhism. So what's my point? Myo. Remember, I've told you many times now, Myo signifies potential. Now, this is very profound. And in what Miao Lo says, what we think is incurable can be cured. The incurability, or the poison, as Nagarjuna called it, is our attachment to things as permanent. That is, and therefore continues to be, because of what I've identified it as it was, continues This idea destroys potential because it's no longer potential. It's now, I've identified it, move on. That's samsara. That's the dis-ease that causes, that brings about, that anchors our experience of life and therefore suffer. Pain, anxiety, stress, of course. What's the cure? Join the momentum. Everything is ising, not being. Everything is becoming constantly. Potential is open. Potential is manifesting moment to moment to moment, leaving that moment, moving to the next moment. Potential isn't plop, done. Potential is an active state, continuous, happening. That's what's wonderful. That's what's myo, is the momentum, the act of instantiation. Once instantiated, it's no longer myo. What is it? Ho. Make sense? The potential is something constantly there. Just like our awareness of it is Buddha. Once it's whole, it's manifested for a moment. That's bodhisattva. That's being. But once it's a being, it's no longer myo. Myo arises the next moment. Because potential has no parameters. You get, oh, there's potential. There's potential. No, your pointing is manifest. It's whole. Potential has no constraints. So to view the world, to experience the world moment by moment every day is to understand, is to think via the filter of potential. And the verb of life, the manifesting of life, moment to moment to moment to moment. That's the cure. And within that thought, if you're following along here, momentum, the occurrence of energy manifesting moment to moment from myo, potential, no parameters, to some identified, some small part of that hugeness of myo, there is precipitating like raindrops all this samsaric moment to moment being into the next, into the next, into the next. This is the location mentally of the 3,000 realms in every thought moment, right? Again, describing that potential has innumerable, unfathomable. Potential is undefinable. Because the moment it begins to define formation, it is becoming, transmigrating into whole. The evidence of the potential, its influences manifesting moment to moment to moment. That's what we are. That's what all phenomena is. That is what is meant by the statement, the truth of all phenomena is this very process. And within it, all 3,000 realms, all realms of the 10 worlds, the 10 factors, everything you've learned and all this numbers of states and stuff, they're all defining the potential of potential. They're all talking about formations and how the mind sifts through and attaches itself via groupings, innumerable groupings, yeah. And we're simply the witnesses of manifestations of potential. Our samsaric mind wants to collect all of that and therefore identify self as other. That's how we build our ego. I am this collection of data. That defines me, uniquely identifies me as a special thing. Okay, we're all proud of you. But that thing is gone the moment you perceive it, because the next moment is instantiating it again, although influenced, slightly different, slightly modified, because the idea that it is permanent is the illusion. The process of it being, that's where all of the experience lies. Thank you for being here. Welcome again. New subscribers, welcome. To help your practice, that's the only reason this collective of resources and information exists, this channel, the website, the bookstore, so on and so forth, all here to help you build your own confidence for your realization, for your bodhisattva life as an awakened Buddhist. And in that regard, take a moment, please, to like and subscribe, because it helps the YouTube algorithms. It helps us grow the Sangha. A little bodhisattva effort on all our parts. A great bodhisattva effort is supporting this endeavor of this Sangha, which, yes, liking and subscribing is part, but so is Patreon, PayPal, purchasing ebooks off threefoldlotus.com or lulu.com, getting print books and ebooks there. Downloading a PDF of a proper Nichiren inscribed mandala, digital representation of, so you can print it for yourself, whatever size you need it to be. The book on the personages of this scroll and what's going on that, so on and so forth. Whatever it takes to support your practice, not only in that you have all of the various accoutrements for your practice, but that you build your confidence, your strong resolve. Because as Nichiren points out constantly, all the way back to Shakyamuni, that with strong resolve alone, you can make tremendous headway in getting your mind right, experiencing this life fully, without encumbrances of deluded attachments to the idea of building an ego. It's a distraction, a huge distraction. In general, Nichiren continues, there are 4 kinds of people who have great difficulty in attaining Buddhahood or rebirth in the Pure Land. And once again, pay attention to this sentence, because you hear me all the time saying rebirth, successive life moments, the next life, the past life, all of this rhetoric, translations notwithstanding. And grant you, hundreds, centuries, thousands, millennia ago, and to this day, people will read this kind of translation, whether it's in English or other languages, and they will mystify it. They will turn it into, once I die, I will then go to another place. That's religion. That has nothing to do with Buddhist teaching. It really does not. But when you have cultures and capacity of people who can't seem to think out of that box, traditions are made, rhetoric is accepted, and then you have entire schools and populations who call themselves Buddhist, right? Oh, no. There are multiple. Talk to Nembutsu believers, people who chant Amida Buddha's name. They're absolutely convinced that Buddhism is about, working, expending this life as some kind of penance. Insert Christianity or Muslim or whatever religion you want here, Judaism, everything's a punishment or something to be suffered so that by the time we die, finally, can't wait for death, because then we can go to the good place. Oh my goodness. And this is your litmus test. If you're stuck there, or if you know people who were stuck there, or if you think I'm making it up, how many times have you heard the story of Siddhartha and his journey into searching for an answer before Buddha, right? As a young prince. What was he trying to solve? What was the reason for his chasing down this awakening, this enlightenment, this Buddhahood? The primary reason that drove Siddhartha to awaken his Buddha was to live this life well. It's very pragmatic. He looked around at how people were suffering, and he said, there's got to be a way that anyone universally could live this life, in an improved, a better state of being. That's the whole reason for Buddhism. Not about where do we go next. That never entered the conversation. That is magical, mystical, religious thinking. It's an escapism. It's a talk about delusion. It's not based in reality at all. Buddhism is the essence of reality, the, quote, truth of all phenomena. So, whenever you hear these claims, these other schools talking about mystical things in Buddhism, they miss the mark. They're just following some religious traditions of their cultures, their understandings. It's pitiful, in Nichiren's words. It's pitiful. But it can be very confusing if you don't learn how to discern what is the core teaching of Buddhism, to live this life well. And if you read the Virmalakirti Sutra, that point is amplified many, many times. From a very wise man, don't miss that part of the equation, our wisdom enables us to understand that the Buddha land, the pure land, it's a matter of perception. And with the correct perception, the very next moment of your life can be the Buddha land, the aha, the renge, the oh, now I get it. That's the Buddha land. So, don't get it confused. Don't be swayed. That's a litmus test. You can tell right away if somebody who calls himself a Buddhist really gets the teaching of Buddhism. You You can call it modernism if you want. You can call it reform if you want, but it's not. It's what Shakyamuni was teaching from the get-go, what he was hoping to learn to teach. The whole point of Buddhism, to live this life fully. There is no other reason to practice. We're not just looking for more entertainment, more mental masturbation. We want to discover truth. Huh? 4 kinds of people who have difficulty attaining Buddhahood or rebirth in the Pure Land. Attaining Buddhahood, now that's an instantaneous statement, right? Or rebirth in the Pure Land. In other words, moment to moment, enlightenment, awakening, right? This isn't something that goes past a lifetime. The life in a moment, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, that lifetime. This lifetime in suffering, next lifetime Buddhahood. Right? Vimalakirti Sutra. This land is a pure land. It's a mental decision, construct, enlightenment. First, there are those predestined for the 2 vehicles. People just get enraptured in words, learning and realization. Shravaka Pratyeka Buddha. Arhats. People who think they've achieved greatness but haven't really seen the Buddha land. Right? Second are Ichantikas. Well, this is all well and good, and I can learn it all, and I can be very skilled at it, but it's not going to matter. This is Earth. We're here. We're suffering. Life sucks. Then you die. That's just how it is. Ichantika. Not even curious. Third are those who cling to the doctrine of the void. Who's that? Oh, we'll be enlightened as soon as we understand that nothing really exists and we're part of nothing. Right? I've talked about nothing many times. Nothing is not nothing. Nothing is extremely active, actually, but there's no actions being applied yet. Everything's in that state of potential. But that's not the truth of everything, right? Because formations into karma, that's the truth of all phenomena. If it weren't, there would be no phenomena, and this conversation would be non-existent. And fourth are those who slander the law. In other words, people who actively work against this clarity. Yeah. That's just for, intellectuals. It's not for us ordinary people. We're meant to suffer. That's not what they say, but that's really the gist of what they are saying. How pitiful. But through the Lotus Sutra, all of these people are able to become Buddhas. Why is that? So once you understand everything is occurring moment to moment, no matter how stubborn or misled you've been, that renge, that aha moment, because it's always been there as potential, simply required applied action, invocation, awakening. That is why the Lotus Sutra is called Myo. Because with Myoho Rengekyo, with the Lotus Sutra, with the practice of, with the method of the Lotus, Nichiren, Shakyamuni gave us the most direct method he could muster, using his own actions, thoughts, mentations, so that anyone, including those who slander the law, or those who are mired in words, or those who misunderstanding everything, if they simply invoke the Buddha awareness, as Nichiren would say, through the Gohonzon mind, the apparatus for which we have to be sentient, we can occur our awakened experience of Buddha. Devadatta was the eldest son of King Drodhana and the nephew of King Suddhodana, the father of Shakyamuni Buddha, which made him the Buddha's cousin, right? He was also the elder brother of the Buddha's disciple, the Venerable Ananda. He was thus by no means a person of low station in the southern continent of Jambudvipa, because as we know, the Shaka clan was a major power in India, a major landowner, right? We talk about princes, kings, those kind of things, but they had different terms for it in India, but you had the feudal systems of the West are no different, right? He became a disciple of the monk Sudaya and entered the religious life. From the Venerable Ananda, he learned the 18 miraculous powers, and he committed to memory 60,000 teachings of the non-Buddhist schools and the 80,000 teachings of Buddhism. This guy was well-read, able to speak on loads of teachings, both Buddhist and non-Buddhist. He observed the 5 ascetic practices and appeared almost more saintly than the Buddha himself. Saintly, sagely, more educated, more well-rounded. Well, Shakyamuni wasn't interested in all the other teachings. He had one mission, right? To teach Buddhism. So along comes Devadatta, and he could talk on all these different religions as well as Buddhism, and Buddhism as a religion. And so Devadatta had a bit of an ego as a consequence, he created that for himself, right? Thinking to make himself a leader like Buddha, Buddha's so admired. I'm more important, I'm more well-read. Are you? He dared to commit the crime of disrupting the Buddhist order by establishing his own ordination platform on Mount Gayashirsha and inviting the Buddha's disciples over to his side. Stop following Shakyamuni. He's not as smart as you think he is. You want to really know, be like me? Yeah, come over here. Yeah, screw you, Shakyamuni. I'm more important. I'm more whatever. He confided to Crown Prince Ajatashatru, quote, I intend to kill the Buddha and become the new Buddha. Wow. His ego was so strong, but he was kind of a coward too, right? Because if you're so smart that you can sway everyone who's following Shakyamuni into your camp, why do you need to kill Shakyamuni? Just do what you're doing. You're obviously superior. Oh, no. I need to annihilate that guy because he's always going to be in my way. You must kill your father, the king Bimbisara, and become the new king in this place, right? Because Bimbisara, obviously, was very fond of and a supporter of Shakyamuni. So Devadatta says, not only do I need to get rid of Shakyamuni, but you need to kill your father so you can become king, and then you and I can own the populace. You hear me all the time talking about politics affecting the history of Buddhism. Well, there it is. After Crown Prince Ajatashatru had in fact killed his father, he did it. Devadatta kept watch on the Buddha's activities, and with a large stone caused his blood to flow. Right? He rolled a stone down to kill Shakyamuni, narrowly missed him, crushed one of his feet or something. But his intent, remember, attitude, intent, his intent was to kill Shakyamuni. Didn't work out. He also struck and killed the nun Utpalavarna, who had reached the state of Arhat. Thus he committed fully 3 of the 5 cardinal sins. Cardinal, there's a Western word, yeah. Heinous sins. In addition, with the venerable Kokalika as his disciple, the king Ajatasattu as his patron, right? Devadatta began to attract followers from everywhere, until throughout the 5 regions of India, with its 16 great states, 500 middle-sized states, 10,000 small states, there's that word again, every person guilty of 1, 2, or 3 of the heinous sins was a member of his group, right? But why not? He's a criminal himself, so if we have any criminal records or influences or tendencies in our lives, we'll find acceptance there, certainly. They gathered about him as the various rivers ran into the great ocean, or as plants and trees gather on a great mountain. As the wise gathered about Shariputra, and those with transcendental powers flocked to Mount Galyayana, so did evil persons throw their lot with Devadatta. So you can see, in Shakyamuni's day, there were competing schools of thought using Shakyamuni's own teachings, but in their own agendas, to pull followers away from Shakyamuni. And therefore, what? Slanderers of the law, because they're getting in the way and putting their own layers of mental powers or other samsaric parameters, creating religions where there was not. Religious thought, right? Whenever there's magical or mystical thinking that you can't resolve, there's no evidence for other than in the mind, then you're dealing with religion. And Buddhism is about this right here and now. The experience of the senses, the 8 senses, tasting food, hearing food, chewing food, seeing food, hearing food, flesh, how this works as a moment-to-moment instantiation of energy into mass, reality, time, space. This is Buddhism, very, very pragmatic of the here and now. This is happening, not some faraway otherness, something to plead to or be punished by or to own and gather. Right? Buddhism is about the moment-to-moment, the mind itself at work, perceiving the true nature of all things, thingness, more to the point. Not the true nature of a chair, but the true instantiation, moment to moment, of potential chairness. Suchness is suchness. That is the proper perception of life, the suchness of it, because it's momentum. It's never static. There's nothing in the universe that's static. Period. As a result, the great earth, which is 168,000 yohanas thick and rests on a windy circle as hard as a diamond, nevertheless split open, plunging Devadatta alive into the great citadel of the hell of incessant suffering. Ooh, how dramatic. Sounds very magical, doesn't it? But Buddhism is about the mind. So what is this saying? Where have I told you many, many times? Where is the Avicii hell? Where is the hell of incessant suffering? That's samsara. It's the idea that we own and collect our identities, which precipitates suffering. Go back to the earliest teachings of Shakyamuni. This is what he said over and over and over and over. That is hell. Worrying about our possessions. Yeah, who would argue? Really? His leading disciple, Kokalika, also fell into hell alive. What does that mean, hell alive? This life, this experience, moment to moment. Are you experiencing the incredible complexity of your ownership and your ego and what you have and your attachment to things? Hell. In one moment, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, you can be released from all of that tension and simply perceive life in its process, moment to moment, happening, living. Buddha land, maybe? Anyone? From hell to Buddha land? Right now, in the mind, as we live. Not some other place, other time, other lifetime. It could seem like it, man, that kind of enlightenment in a moment could seem like, how many times have you heard anyone over the age of 30 or 20, I don't know when it's happening anymore, man, that was a lifetime ago. We know it was in this physical life, but in our minds, it seems that when we were teenagers or pubescent, we can barely, that's so other in our minds that we can't perceive it contemporaneously. Well, your mind is telling you exactly what Shakyamuni's teaching, isn't it? It's obvious. As did the Brahmin daughter Chincha, King Virudaka, and the monk Sunakshatra. Moreover, the people of India, with its 5 regions, 60 great states, 500 middle-sized states, 10,000 small states, they all observed this. They all saw this, right? Those in the 6, the skies and space of the world of desire, and the 4, meditation, the skies and spaces, all beings in both the worlds of form and formlessness, beings of the worlds of form and formlessness, beings of the worlds of form and formlessness, from Myo to Ho, all of the various mentations, assignments of reality in that process of life that samsara creates, identifies, all of them, including Brahma, Shakra, the devil king of the 6 skies and space, and the king Yama, likewise witnessed their fate. Right? How could they not? This is reality. This is what actually is happening. It reverberates throughout the process of life, the entire universe. This isn't an isolated event. It's an event happening within the potential. There is no limit. But the limitations in the no limit of formation, the assignment of characteristics, those invariably represent some small pool of tendencies and conditions. Duh. Just like a cup dipped into the ocean can make you a cup of coffee, the cup of coffee doesn't represent the entire ocean, but without the entire ocean, the cup of coffee could not exist. It's a freight train of karma. It's a captured tendencies and conditions, potential of the whole. All right. All beings throughout the major world system and the worlds of the 10 directions heard about this and unanimously concluded that even though as many kalpas should pass as there are dust particles of the land, Devadatta and the others would never escape the great citadel of the hell of incessant suffering, and that though the stone that marks the duration of a kalpa might be worn completely away, they would continue to suffer in the Avicii hell. They had made a horrible cause, not in a moment, but they dedicated their lives to obstructing enlightenment, to romancing, embracing, holding these erroneous views, with malice of intent. Even though some didn't understand that that's what they were doing, Devadatta knew what he was doing. They would continue to suffer in the Avicii hell. How astounding, then, that in the Devadatta chapter of the Lotus Sutra, Shakyamuni Buddha would reveal that Devadatta was his teacher in a past existence and should predict that he would attain enlightenment in the future as a thus come one called the skies and space-born king. If the sutras preached before the Lotus Sutra are true, then the Lotus Sutra must be an outrageous lie. But if the Lotus Sutra is true, then the previous sutras must be guilty of perpetrating the wildest of deceptions, yeah? Again, Nichiren pointing out that the Lotus Sutra, not like all the previous teachings of Shakyamuni's lifetime, that there was something incredibly unique, important, and yes, powerful in the teachings of Myoho Renge-kyo. And we'll continue with that discovery, that illumination of Nichiren's in the next video. For this video, I'm again reminded of how much I appreciate your participation, right? Your listening, your practice. Keep it strong. Be mindful of your health, the health of those around you. Be kind. Kind to yourself, right? Kind to others. Everything is about Buddhahood. Namo Myoho Renge-kyo. Thank you for liking and subscribing. It's essential to the growth of this Sangha. Those purchases of books and so on, or donations through Patreon and PayPal, essential for me to keep producing and expanding this resource for all of us. So I have nothing but gratitude and a bit of awe at your forthrightness, your steadfast practice. It's everything. It is enlightenment. So congratulations and thank you. And I'll see you in the next one, okay? Take care of yourself. Bye for now.